What's up guys, it's Wasabi and I'm back with another review. And today we're finally going to take a look at the WALLHACK CR-005 glass mousepad. WALLHACK sent this one over to me to try out, but as always with the content on my channel, these are my thoughts, personal opinions, and experiences with the product. Now before we go any further, let's manage some expectations here real quick. The VA5, which I already covered, is their speed surface and it is super smooth. Today's pad is the CR-005, which is pretty much the same base design, but with a different surface, which is the most important thing. So for this review, I will be focusing more on the texture and the glide experience. Also, I didn't get the SP5 Awakening limited edition pad because I know a lot of you good people have been waiting for this new surface to come out first. So I just wanted to respect the anticipation. So the pricing of the CR-005 alone will set you back $129. And when it's available, if you get the bundle option that includes the set of dot skates and the pro sleeve, it will be $148 to $151 depending on the style of gaming sleeve that you pick. The CR-005 comes in WALLHACK's new packaging. You get a hard protective carry case and honestly the quality is excellent. This is one of the most high-end mousepad unboxing experiences that I, experienced. Inside you should find one glass pad, an introductory card about the surface, a folder with two sample skates, you got PTFE and UHMWPE material dot skates, a microfiber cloth for cleaning, and the WALLHACK sticker. And that's pretty much all that's included inside the box. I have the black colorway, but there are plans for a white version according to them, which I'd very much like to see because on darker pads, sweat marks, oil smudges and such are a lot more visible, but a simple wipe with a damp cloth usually gets it looking good as new. This CR-005 happens to be very resistant to all those things because of the texture, which we will look at in a bit. Along the sides, the edges taper down beautifully into the base. It might seem like a small detail, but visually it does make a big difference. It almost looks like the pad melts into your desk, which is super clean. The tapered edge also adds quite a fair bit of comfort when you're resting your arm against it. This is a difference in comfort that you will notice if you're coming from the previous generation glass pad. And the base design follows the same concept as the SP4, but it's been updated with a denser pattern and concave details within each square for extra grip. Overall, it works just as well as the previous design. I got no complaints here because the base grip is excellent. The dimensions are 440 by 510, so this is slightly larger than the SP4 glass pad. The overall thickness, which includes the glass, the insert, and the base, comes in at around 3.3 millimeters in total. So this one is 0.3 millimeters thicker than the new VA5. WALLHACK's glass pads are engineered for long-term durability. So each pad is chemically tempered through a molten salt bath process, which increases the resistance to cracking, chipping, and impact damage. That is something that is especially important here because the 5th generation design is thinner than the older 004. So they have to make sure that this thinner profile doesn't compromise the strength, both for longevity and safety. That said, it is still glass, so as always, handle it with care. Do not drop it, slam your mouse, or place heavy, sharp objects on it just to be safe. The letter CR in the name stands for crater, which describes the texture pattern used on the surface of this glass pad. And it is a very interesting idea. The CR-005 uses crater-like structures with fine ridges to increase gliding friction and provide a noticeable boost in stopping power compared to most other glass pads. These craters on the surface allow for what's known as tribological plowing, which to put it simply means that as you apply more pressure during fast or forceful movements, the surface pushes back with more resistance. This is something that is very noticeable on this pad, and yes, it will also eat into your skates quicker than other surfaces that WALLHACK has. That's just how things work with this surface. One of the things that I mentioned in the review of the VA5 was that it doesn't really feel much slower when you press down on the mouse. The CR-005 on the other hand is quite the opposite of that. When I first used this pad, I was very surprised because I did not expect it to have so much friction and control for a glass pad. It is very capable of high stopping power. You really need to be careful when micro adjusting because how much bite you feel under the skates is rather sensitive to how much pressure you apply on the mouse. It's not impossible to get used to, but I find it a little more challenging than micro adjusting on control cloth pads. The one thing that separates this and a control cloth pad is this CR-005. You get high friction and high stopping power without the muddiness, which is a very weird feeling for me. It does feel rather dry in the glide, but it can stop in an instant. What they did with this surface texture, those tiny crater-like patterns, is genuinely freaking effective. My concern is that it would be too much for some people. I mostly use my purple obsidian air dot skates on this pad, and I was pretty shocked at how much slower it felt. To my surprise, I feel like I can confidently say that if you enjoy using the VA5 surface, you will likely not enjoy this one at all. I've been using the VA5 daily since they said they were sending me this pad, and when I got on the CR-005, the glide experience was a stark difference. If you felt the SP surface was too fast, this one is slower in comparison, but it is not as big of a shock if you come from using the VA5. Also, I gotta say that tracking on the CR-005 is not as easy as doing it on the SP and the VA surface, unless you are very light-handed. When it comes to tactical shooters, the CR-005 is the one that gives me the most confidence in that sort of game. When I want to stop my mouse, it stops. It's very instant and I get a great level of control. So for gamers who play tactical FPS who want to enjoy the benefits of a glass pad, this CR-005 would provide the ideal glide experience. Now, final thoughts and what do I think of its value? My preference leans towards balanced or slightly slower surfaces, and the CR-005 can feel like it has a bit too much friction at times. This is something that may change over time as my skin and the mouse skates gradually smoothen out the crater texture, but that is a process that will take quite a while. The experience on this surface is definitely much more controlled than what I get on my HSR SE Rouge 2 and my Artisan Zero, both of which are my go-to balance and control oriented cloth pads. For the CR-005, I feel like there is just a bit too much bite between the skates and the surface. Switching to PTFE skates does help a little, but on a texture like this, PTFE isn't going to last very long, so it's really a bit of give and take. That's one thing. The second thing is that I don't think players who move to glass pads specifically for speed and tracking performance will enjoy this one very much. And that's the truth. This is a very specific pad and it's meant to be that way. With the release of the VA and the CR surface, it is WALLHACK trying to focus on catering to very specific preferences rather than just chasing one best experience. Quality-wise, the CR-005 is absolutely top tier and the presentation matches that too. You know, at its price point, it delivers a premium experience and the clean and minimal design absolutely fits any setup. So for gamers who are coming from true control cloth pads and want to move on to glass for its durability and consistency, I think you'll be far more comfortable aiming on this than on any other glass pad that I've tried before. That is where I feel the CR-005 really shines. And if you're not one of those players, you'd probably be better off trying and adapting to the SP or the VA surfaces instead. Honestly speaking, with a glass pad like this out in the market, I don't think anyone can say that glass pads aren't suitable for tactical shooters anymore. The code works for any product on their website. Just key in Wasabi in the checkout for a pretty awesome discount, and your support goes directly back into helping my channel grow. And the last thing I want to say is don't buy this pad just because it's new and I have an awesome discount. Take a look at everything WALLHACK has to offer and see what really fits your playstyle. Really, the best outcome for both WALLHACK and for me is that you end up with something that you can enjoy. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful in any way, please leave a like and subscribe to support my channel, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.